5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We've had more than one interview in the past, and sometimes it wasn't even an interview. Sometimes it was just us talking and the listeners chiming in by way of the phone about evolution and about creation and about the things that we teach our children in school and the things we believe about where we come from and all of that. A few weeks ago, there was a big emphasis, I guess it was on Earth Day, to consider science, and that in itself brought up a lot of, I guess, debate and controversy. And so, there's in my mind, I mean, unless we invent some kind of a time machine, there's so much that we're never really going to be sure of. But at the same time, if you keep perpetuating things that are based on tiny bits of evidence, it might not necessarily give you the real picture. That's why it's an interesting conversation when we have somebody who has studied these things at length. Dr. Jonathan Wells is one of those people. That was kind of an awkward way to get to our guest, but he is a molecular and cellular biologist. He's a researcher. He's a contributor to Development, the American biology teacher, the scientist, proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, USA, Biosystems, and he's a senior fellow at the Center for Science and Culture at the Discovery Institute. His book that we're going to focus on right now is called Zombie Science. If you're looking at the streaming video, you are seeing the cover of the book, Zombie Science, More Icons of Evolution. They just keep coming back. Dr. Jonathan Wells, good morning, sir. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Where are you right now?
Seattle, Washington.
So what is this book about?
Well, in 2000, I published a book called Icons of Evolution, in which I showed that many of the images used in textbooks to convince our children that evolution is true actually misrepresent the evidence. And now I've published a book showing that the icons are still with us despite being basically dead to the empirical evidence. So like zombies, they just keep marching on despite the evidence.
All right, so can we talk basic before we get into anything more detailed? My question about evolution is this. I mean, isn't it possible that God helps us evolve? I've often compared it to cars. Obviously, cars are made by humans, and they seem to have evolved. But it was almost like the creator, the humans in this case, decided, the next one should be a little bit better because it needs to be able to do this. Isn't it possible that that's what God does with us?
Absolutely. Evolution can actually mean many different things. It can mean simple change over time, which nobody disagrees with. It can mean minor changes within existing species, which again, nobody disagrees with. Or it can mean the sorts of major changes you're talking about that have been guided. The problem is Darwin's theory, Darwinian evolution, insists that there was no guidance, that it all happened by random variation in natural selection.
Okay.
There's where the problem comes in.
And it also seems to imply, and again, I just do a radio show. I am not an expert at all. So it's like you're a scientist talking to a kindergarten student right now, just so you know, just to put it in perspective. But from my kindergarten perspective, it seems like it was trying to say, or is being used to say, but maybe not by Darwin, but by others, that there is no God. Is I don't know why people do that. It seems to me that if there was evolution, that would be proof there was a God.
Well, in Darwin's theory, there is no need for a God. So if there is a God, and Darwin never said there's no God, but if there is a God, he has nothing to do.
Okay, all right. So tell me about the icons. Are we referring to the picture on the cover of the book that shows a monkey on the left side and a human being on the right side, and kind of cavemen in between?
Yes, that's one of the most famous icons. Pictures showing ape-like creatures evolving into humans, and it's basically a story. And what the people who are telling the story do is they find fossils of creatures with intermediate characteristics, and they plug them into the story as illustrations. So the story comes first, the illustrations come later.
And why why do we have so many people who embrace it when I've often thought this about theory, like even dinosaur theory, they teach it as fact, and yet every year several times a year there's a story coming out. Oh, dinosaurs had feathers. Oh, dinosaurs had colors, or dinosaurs had different voices than we thought, and you still don't know. I mean, unless somebody had a recording of them.
Well, that's true. That a lot of these things are based on very little evidence, or in some cases, just guesswork. And as I said, it's a story they have to tell, and the story is a materialistic one. That is, everything happens because of matter and the energy, and there's no guidance, no design, no soul, no spirit, no God. And so that story has to be told according to them. And dinosaurs are one more illustration.
Let's see, the argument from those who are atheists are that, and this is that gets to me, it's almost condescending, and I've had this from callers. I mean, callers who question me, they'll say, do you agree more with religion or with science? And I'll say, well, I mean, they both seem to play a role. I don't see that one supersedes the other, but I think that's what they were doing a few weeks ago. They were saying science is the answer, not religion or not faith, and I know others have said this. I'm not the first to say this, but they don't see the science of conception being the beginnings of a life.
Well, I think the problem is not with science. I'm a scientist. I love science. But for me, and for many others, science is the search for truth by comparing hypotheses with evidence. That's the noble enterprise of science. The problem is, science has been pretty much hijacked by people who want to find a materialistic explanation for everything, and that's a totally different conception of science.
Right.
Now, that has a problem with religion, but not the real science that I'm talking about.
No, that's interesting.
I had taken biology in high school, and I had never had the perspective that biology might have been a form of Darwinism.
Well, of course, you can teach biology, learn biology, do biology without ever going there. It's quite true, but there's a strong lobby, as it were, that insists that nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of Darwinian evolution. They're wrong, but they have quite a lot of influence.
Yeah, because we learned everything about anatomy and things like that, and I just thought that was fascinating stuff.
It is, and the truth is we've hardly begun to understand living things. There's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
And just sort of chalking them up to accidental byproducts of unguided evolution doesn't really answer anything. It just shuts off inquiry.
Exactly.
The book has some really good reviews. Well, one person gave it 1 star, and that must be somebody who doesn't agree with you. It is funny to look at a book like yours, and I predicted this before I clicked on the Amazon link, by the way. I predicted that there would be people who get it and give it 5 stars, and people who don't get it and give it 1 star, but I didn't think there would be nothing in between. There's either people who love it or this one guy who doesn't like it.
That's pretty typical about books on this subject. There's sort of what they call a bimodal distribution. It's 1 or 5 and nothing in between. It's weird.
I thought the one piece that was brought to our attention was Ernst Haeckel's faked embryo drawings and peppered moss glued to tree trunks.
Yes.
What was that?
Those are 2 of the most famous icons.
And what was he trying to prove with those?
Well, Darwin believed that the embryos of animals with backbones, including us, all start out looking like fish. And so that, for him, was evidence that we descended from fish. Ernst Haeckel made some drawings to illustrate this, but they were faked. And his contemporaries saw that and accused him of faking them. Not only did he make the embryos look more similar than they really are, he left out the early stages completely. So the truth is, a fish embryo and a turtle embryo and a human embryo start out looking very, very different. They become somewhat similar halfway through development, and then they become different again. But Darwin's idea was totally wrong.
Oh, wow. That is interesting. Wow.
But you would think that he, as a scientist, would have had more integrity than that.
Well, Darwin was not an embryologist. You know, he was basing his opinion on things he had read. So perhaps he could be excused, but modern biologists who still teach Haeckel's embryos are at fault. You know, they know better, and they're still doing it.
What bothers me sometimes when I hear news stories about teachers, for example, who are fired because they might bring up the possibility that there's intelligent design. They're not teaching religion. They don't even bring the name of Jesus up into the classroom. They just say there's some intelligence, and you'll hear a story about how they got fired. It seems to me like you, as a scientist, if you can show exactly what you're showing, that should give the schools the impetus to say, well, let's include this in with the teaching.
Well, I completely agree, of course. The problem, again, is the materialist lobby, which doesn't want to allow any doubt about Darwin's theory at all. In fact, a teacher doesn't even have to teach about intelligent design. If a teacher just raises skeptical questions about Darwin's theory, he or she can be fired.
What is the real reason behind that, though? I mean, this is our money, right? I mean, if you wanted to give us as a society a reason to have a issue with this, I mean, it's tax money that pays these teachers and these schools.
Yes, I agree. I agree. It's an outrage, but the administrators, the lobbyists, the powerful people in the scientific establishment and the universities insist that Darwin's story must be true because it's the creation story of materialism, and they will not allow any questioning of it.
So we don't understand why, huh? We don't know what their reason is.
Well, I think there could be lots of reasons. I've had a lot of people tell me, this doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but a lot of people on that side of the fence have told me that they don't want there to be design or creation because they do not want to be held accountable to a higher power, and that's their motivation.
And now with the age of computers this time, I mean, gosh, you can make 3D anythings in there. You've got the DNA strands. I don't know why this should be a mystery anymore and how people still should go into the area of Darwinism.
Well, it mystifies me sometimes because to me the evidence is so strongly against it. It baffles me that people insist on it.
Our guest is Dr. Jonathan Wells. His book is called Zombie Science: More Icons of Evolution. The earlier book was remind me the name of the earlier book.
Icons of Evolution in 2000.
Okay. So more, and this is more. Okay, I got it. And it's for the most part, except for one guy, has 5-star reviews on Amazon. The one guy has real issues with you. He practically wrote a book himself in his review of you, and it seems like in the little bit that I read of it, it seems like his big problem is that he just does not want to believe or accept that there is the possibility of an intelligent designer.
Yes. That's quite common. As one biologist years ago wrote in a letter to, I think it was Science Magazine or Nature Magazine, even if all the data point to design, we cannot allow it because it is not scientific.
Is money a part of this issue? I mean, are people making money from still leaning toward Darwinism?
Oh, yes. And it's mostly our money, as you pointed out a minute ago. But the money, the grants, the jobs, the salaries, the institutions are largely controlled by a scientific, what they call the scientific consensus, which is just, a majority opinion of established scientists, and they control the money. And there's a lot of it to the tune of tens of billions of dollars every year.
How do you keep your cool when you're at a gathering or a conference or something, and then you're the featured speaker, and you give all of this, and then somebody somebody will eventually come up to you and challenge you right on the spot? How do you keep all of that under wraps and still be reasonable when you want to throttle this person?
Well, I guess it's partly my personality. I'd rather respond calmly and with reasoned arguments and evidence, even though sometimes the temptation is to just say, you're just wrong, you're an idiot.
Exactly.
That's more the way they react rather than how I react.
That's wonderful, because that's how you illustrate your point very well.
It's just hard to believe that somebody can't see that there's design in nature, especially with today, like Robin pointed out, even DNA indicates that there's design. And if there's design, there must be a designer. I guess that's how I look at it. The book is Zombie Science. Dr. Jonathan Wells is the author. The website, I just went to it. It's iconsofevolution.com. Oh my gosh, there's so many articles on here that I would love to read. Dawkins and Darwin's Three-Ring Circus is one article I'm looking forward to reading later on. Let me go to the phones if you don't mind, Doctor, and let a listener have a say. So, good morning. You're on the air with Dr. Wells.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. There was another guy doing a lot of the same work at about the same time, and his name was Alfred Russel Wallace. And in fact, there are some people that allege that Darwin plagiarized Wallace to a point. Wallace actually proposed spiritual design in his thesis. What is your opinion of that? And I'll hang up.
Doctor?
Well, you're quite right. Alfred Russel Wallace proposed a theory of natural selection at the same time Darwin did. And Wallace actually had more evidence for natural selection than Darwin did. But Wallace believed in design and a higher intelligence, and Darwin actually abhorred the idea. Well, Darwin's theory fit the temper of the times, which was leaning toward materialism. Wallace's did not. So Darwin became famous, and Wallace is largely forgotten.
Wow. So, and is the plagiarizing part, is there any truth to that?
I can't comment on that. I don't know. I mean, it could be they were totally independent, but the fact is Darwin was materialistic and Wallace was not, and people chose to go with Darwin rather than Wallace.
What would happen to a student in a class in a university, let's say, who studied your book, Icons of Evolution, and the new one that we're talking about, the Zombie Science, and really grasped it? I mean, really was able to look at the examples in the textbook that he's studying from and pointed out the icons that you point out. What would happen? I know what would happen to the teacher, but what would happen to the student if he brought it up to the teacher?
Well, it varies. All kinds of things. But I think, on average, the student would be in danger of getting a bad grade, possibly even being expelled from the class. It would not probably be good for the student's career to do that openly.
Let me take a little break and do the commercials, and we'll be right back. I think I need to make some up here. So let's do that. We'll be right back with Dr. Jonathan Wells. Again, the book is called Zombie Science. If you want to check out the website during the break or at any time, iconsofevolution.com, and we will be right back.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 572-2510. That's 572-2510.
There's a storm coming. We may not know its path, but your independent auto owner's insurance agent knows. No matter what happens, we'll be there when you need us most. Strong through every storm. That's how it's been for our first 100 years, and how it will be for generations to come.
Call George Mangan Insurance in Ocala today, 352-732-3191.
Mother's Day is the 14th, and you know what that means. Symphony Under the Stars at the Ocala Golf Club, 3130 East Silver Springs Boulevard. Bring a picnic and enjoy food specialties, fabulous music from the Ocala Symphony Orchestra, and fireworks. It'll be very dark after the fireworks, so be sure to bring a flashlight. Adult advance tickets are $20 and $25 at the door. Children 6 to 17, just $5. This is a wonderful way to spend Mother's Day evening with the family. Gates open at 5:30 and the concert begins at 7 o'clock. See you there.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
WOCA.
All right. Let's see, I'm sorry. 26 minutes now before 11 o'clock. My gosh, I'm trying to do two things at once. Dr. Jonathan Wells is here. I sure hope there's... I'm sorry, Jonathan. I didn't have the button pushed. We're back on the air now. I wish we had more time to talk about this. I love this subject, and I love when guys like you give guys like me some tools and some ammunition, because it's kind of like you're made to feel. I'm made to feel quite often that I'm just not sophisticated enough. Because that's what I'll get a lot of times is, well, I've thought about it more than you. I've thought about creation or evolution more than you have, and therefore I'm right. And I say, I have thought about it a lot. So I don't know. So I love the fact that a guy like you puts together a book like this.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. And I think you need to trust your intuition, which is... usually very, very reliably. Your intuition is that things are designed, and you're right. And the evidence is not on their side. No one has ever observed one species turning into another by variation and selection.
It's true.
So the first step in Darwinian evolution is missing.
Oh, I just love that line all by itself. Do you know what? Real quick, I want to tell you something, and I know this sounds like far-fetched, but when I was like 4, I saw an angel, and rather than getting into the story, you'll just have to trust me on this. I did, and I didn't have any great revelation, but it really set the stage for me for the rest of my life, because whenever the issue came up, I would say, yeah, I saw an angel, and then I have had people say to me, well, I believe you believe that, but I don't believe it. And I say, okay, well, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I don't have any great stories, just that one little one. So I don't know. I'm not a great theologian, whatever the pronunciation is. I just believe there's a God. I believe there's an intelligence behind my life and behind all life. And I'm not so necessarily opposed to the idea that things can evolve, as you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, but I just don't know about this idea that it all just happened because a great explosion happened. And if a great explosion did happen, it was caused by somebody who knew who had control over that explosion. Zombie Science is the book. The website is iconsofevolution.com. Dr. Wells, are there any other websites you can direct us to?
Well, that's the main one. That'll take someone to wherever they want to go about my work.
Yeah. Have you ever had an opportunity to actually debate Dawkins on TV or on a radio show?
No, not debate. I have met the man. I have debated other evolutionary biologists, but not Richard Dawkins.
I would love to hear you talk to him.
Well, he prefers not to debate at this point. I mean, for many years he has avoided debates.
Yeah.
And frankly, I find them of limited value because too often they're like hockey games. It's just a question of whether you can get the puck in the other guy's goal and rough up the other team without the ref seeing you.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to read this one. Thank you, Doctor, for being on the show with us today.
It's been a delight. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Texas taking on sanctuary cities head on. Republican Governor Greg Abbott signing a law on Facebook Live, threatening jail for sheriffs who don't cooperate with immigration agents, and letting police on routine stops ask if someone's here illegally.
Citizens deserve lawbreakers to face legal consequences.
Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins says the law will keep some from reporting crimes.
When they're afraid to cooperate and tell us what they've seen because they themselves are worried that their papers are not going to be in order, it makes our job exponentially tougher, and that makes everyone less safe.
The law takes effect September 1st. Opponents plan to sue. A rare spring break for us at the gas pump.
That's caused by crude oil price drops. The price of gasoline, regular grade, is down a nickel in the past 2 weeks to $2.41.
Oil expert Trilby Lumber, gas in San Francisco the priciest an average $3.02, Tulsa the cheapest $2.02. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Napa Know How.
That's not heavy metal music or the sound of a stray cat fight. It's your car's not-so-subtle way of saying, head to Napa for new brake pads and rotors and get up to a $50 rebate by mail. So don't confuse for anything other than new brakes and $50 back by mail. That's Napa Know How.
Napa Know How.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 5/31/17.
Heavy rain this morning causing backed up traffic all the way to
Please remove all laptops and
Folks, we're number 9 on the list for takeoff, so settle in, keep those seatbelts fastened.
What fries with that?
Welcome to Westin. Travel can be disruptive to your well-being. That's why at Westin Hotels and Resorts, we have rejuvenating heavenly beds, a nutritious superfoods RX menu, and a workout gear lending program to help you stay in control and rise above it all. Westin, let's rise.
Robin, how do you like my design?
You're designing a box?
That's not a box. It's a doghouse.
Rough draft for your rough? Sounds like you need personal service.
I do?
Yes, to print the blueprints. See Mark at the Personal Service Center. He can print blueprints, notarize permit applications, print and mail out invoices, and even provide great-looking business cards.
Personal Service Center. That's the one on the corner of Northeast 25th Avenue and 24th Street, right?
Just look for the yellow signs. Your pedigree palace will be a reality in no time.
Are you wasting hundreds or thousands of dollars on termite retreat fees? If you're not with Turner Pest Control, you probably are. Turner Pest Control offers the industry's only termite and pest control package that never charges retreat fees, ever. You can get started today for only $99. This is a value of $500 or more. This includes treatments, installation of monitoring stations, quarterly pest control, and a lifetime guarantee, all for an unbelievable low $99. Even if you have another pest control provider, visit turnerpest.com to find out how you can avoid paying those high termite retreat fees.
Next Generation MD is the future of healthcare now. Listen in the first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. to learn how the future in PRP treatments are here in our area. Find out the many ways that Dr. Juan Jordan, MD, Charles Brooks, NP, and case manager Mark Shaw have brought the family medicine practice to a new level. Hear from the very people that benefit from the fine work they have done in this field. Next Generation MD, every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. here on WOCA 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need
too.
my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new truck.
We can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
WOCA gets results.
Yeah, I love WOCA because they're fun to listen to. They're Larry and Robin start the day fresh, and they're funny, they're informative. They've also helped us with Therapeutic Riding Association, getting us players for our golf tournament fundraisers, and so they help the kids that are handicapped, make our community a better place to live, and they've been a very good partner for us. Wouldn't want to have it any other way.
WOCA gets results.
You're going to love your new windows and the immediate energy savings when you work with Renewal by Andersen. You'll experience legendary quality installation. Visit renewalbyandersen.com for a free in-home consultation with the pros. Right now, save 20% on every window and door, plus 20% off installation.